I never imagined jealousy would arrive quietly, wrapped in casual words, delivered like an afterthought. I'm Callan Reeves, 43, married 11 years, and I believed trust was built through consistency, not control. I worked logistics. Steady hours, predictable pay, nothing glamorous, just reliable. Our life wasn't loud, but it was stable, or so I thought. We paid bills on time, planned holidays months ahead, shared jokes only couples understand. I never questioned her independence. I admired it. That's why the sentence that changed everything sounded so harmless at first. It lingered long after. She said it. That night, home. She was rinsing a coffee mug, phone buzzing beside the sink, when she said it. No drama, no warning. Just, I've got a male friend now. Deal with it. She didn't look at me. She didn't pause. The words landed heavier because of how lightly she tossed them. I remember nodding, forcing calm, telling myself adults have friends. But something felt deliberately dismissive, not reassuring, not considerate. Like she was establishing territory, drawing a line I wasn't invited to discuss. That tone mattered more than the information itself. It suggested certainty, not compromise or empathy. Something quietly shifted then. Inside, I didn't interrogate her. I didn't ask for names or explanations. Part of me didn't want details that might confirm the discomfort growing in my chest. Over the next weeks, that friend became a constant presence without ever being present. Late notifications, smiles at screens, sudden errands. She guarded her phone like it was a diary. When I asked simple questions, she accused me of insecurity. I began shrinking my concerns, convincing myself trust meant silence, even when silence felt expensive. Every compromise seemed to cost me something internal. I paid without receipts or refunds. Just quiet losses accumulating. Daily. One evening, I mentioned boundaries carefully, neutrally, choosing words like stepping stones. She laughed, not cruelly, but confidently. Sighed I was old-fashioned, said men and women could be friends. Sighed I needed to grow up. Each sentence pushed me further into self-doubt. I wasn't accusing. I was asking for reassurance. Instead, I was framed as the problem. That night, lying beside her, I felt the space between us stretch wider than the bed itself. Sleep came slowly, interrupted by thoughts I avoided. They circled, unanswered, heavy. Morning arrived without resolution or comfort. Only tension carried forward, unspoken, persistent. The shift was subtle but relentless. She stayed out later. I stopped waiting up. Meals became solo routines. Conversations narrowed to logistics, rent, groceries, schedules. We functioned efficiently, politely, hollow. I noticed how often I apologized first, how rarely she did. My role quietly transformed from partner to obstacle. I wasn't jealous of another man. I was grieving the disappearance of mutual regard. That distinction mattered, though she never acknowledged it. I kept hoping clarity would return on its own. It didn't, and hope became heavier than fear. That realization settled quietly. Something had to change soon. I felt certain the breaking moment wasn't explosive. It was a Tuesday. She came home late again, cheerful, distracted, humming. I asked where she'd been. She sighed, impatient, and repeated the line, firmer now. I told you, he's just a friend. Deal with it. There it was again, sharper. Not a conversation, a command. In that instant, I understood this wasn't about trust. It was about respect, and respect had already left the room. I didn't argue because arguments require shared ground. We no longer had any. Clarity arrived, unwelcome but undeniable. I stood up calmly then and went to pack. Without hesitation, I packed methodically. Not angrily, not theatrically. Her clothes, shoes, toiletries, placed with care. It wasn't punishment. It was acknowledgement. She watched from the doorway, stunned, asking what I was doing like it wasn't obvious. I said nothing. Words had lost their value. Every folded item was a boundary finally enforced. My hands were steady. My mind clearer than it had been in months. For the first time, I chose myself without announcing it. There was no victory, only relief. A quiet ending replacing prolonged erosion. She stopped me once, uncertain. I kept packing anyway. Decision already made internally. Final. When? The bags were done. I set them by the door. I didn't tell her to leave. I told her I wouldn't stay. That difference mattered. I explained calmly that friendships weren't the issue. Dismissal was. Trust couldn't survive contempt. She accused me of overreacting. I told her I was. Responding, not reacting. Years of small dismissals had consequences. This was simply the moment they arrived. I walked out feeling lighter, not free, but honest. Outside, the night air felt sharper. My chest loosened immediately. I hadn't lost her that night. I'd lost myself earlier. Leaving was reclaiming myself. People later asked if I regretted it. I didn't. I regretted waiting. Respect doesn't erode overnight. It's worn down through repetition, through being told to deal with things that hurt. I learned that boundaries stated once, but ignored, become self-betrayal. Love without consideration becomes obligation. Walking away wasn't dramatic. It was necessary. I didn't win. I stopped losing. That distinction reshaped how I see partnership, trust, and my own worth. I carry that lesson forward deliberately. It applies everywhere, not just marriage. Silence can be an answer, so can walking away. I chose clarity over comfort, and never looked back. This isn't a story about control or jealousy. It's about dignity, about recognizing when a relationship shifts from mutual to unilateral. When someone tells you to deal with discomfort they caused, they're telling you where you stand. I listened. Packing those bags wasn't anger. It was acceptance. Sometimes the strongest response is quiet action. Sometimes staying costs more than leaving. I learned that too late, but not too late to save myself, and that made all the difference. It reshaped how I measure respect, not promises, but behavior. That lesson remains permanent. I won't ignore it again.